We're live. All right, let me give you some intro music, Bob Babbitt.
Oh, I'll sing along. Boo, 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 boo.
Ladies and gentlemen, and our studio audience, all 6 of you, put your hands together for the man, the myth, the legend, Bob Babbitt.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Woo! This is nice, Starkey. You're surrounded by about $8 million worth of bicycles. That's pretty sweet.
I know, these Cipolinis, you got to get yourself one of those, Bob. I think it's only $28,000. You should treat
spare change, I think.
You should treat yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, not a problem. Anytime.
I mean, Babbittville Radio, that's just like a week of advertising dollars coming in.
Yeah, actually a couple days. But yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. Yeah.
How are you?
There's so much money in podcasting. Oh, my God. Could retire any day now. Oh, I already have. It's good. It's great to be down here. I've not been to this race before, and this is an amazing. I like races where you host hotel, you can walk to everything. Right?
Yeah,
that's great. You're not schlepping all over the place. There's not 2 transition areas.
No, you're right. It's all very easy to watch and be a part of here.
Absolutely, it's great, and they got a great field. It's very exciting to see Andreas Raylert here. Guy who's been on the podium 4 times in Kona, and probably every day thinks, what was I thinking about in 2010 shaking hands with Chris McCormick at mile 25 of the freaking Ironman?
You think that burns him?
To this day, Macca will tell you that's a race that Andreas has to regret. I mean, he had the opportunity. If you're racing and you catch somebody, you have 2 options. One,
blow past them
with
authority.
Yes, the Dave Scott to Mark Allen, nice knowing you, your history, or you sit on him. You've caught the guy. You're running faster than them. You sit on him, you breathe on him, you spit on him. You wait to the last 50 yards on a Lee drive, you wave, leave him in your rearview mirror, and win the Ironman. You don't come up next to him and basically show your cards. You gave it away.
Yeah.
And then Macca was especially with a gamesman like Macca.
Yeah.
You're putting Macca in a position of dictating everything. And once you shake hands with somebody in the middle of a race, not in the middle of a race, at the end of a race, you're basically saying, I am honored to be with you and please beat me. And that's exactly what happened. But Andreas just did St. George, and it's good that he's been injured for a year and a half. The guy ran 1:12, very tough run course there, and finished 3rd, like I just 15 seconds or so out of second. And he's got to validate, but yeah. I also think that this heat, he likes heat. I think he could do really well here. I think he could possibly win this race.
That's who you like if you were picking?
If I'm picking, I'll go with Andreas Raylert. I like him. Yeah. I like a lot of guys. I like Ben Hoffman. I think you got the Heathers, and you got Rachel Joyce. There's so many good. Caroline Abraham. You got so many different athletes here who can win this race. Yeah, the thing we don't know is most of the folks getting ready for Kona, and are they validating here, right? Or does this mean that now it's a North American Championship? Heather Wortel just won one in St. George at 70.3. So for her to win 2 of those, that's and also the money's good.
Yeah.
Right. It's good money for winning here.
Yep. That's what I was thinking. I mean, Rachel Joyce can win this.
Yes, no question.
Is she still training, or is she peaked, tapered, and ready to empty the tank for this?
And you've got people who've done that, who are ready for this race, and other folks who are, hey, I need to validate. Andreas could go, hey, I'm just here to validate.
Sure.
And halfway during the run, it's hot. I know I'm in 3rd place. I'm validated. What do I care? Yeah, bend it up, but just back it off.
That's why I kind of like Sanders tomorrow.
Oh,
because number one, he's so competitive and aggressive. He will empty the tank to win.
Totally.
He needs the points. He has tapered. There's nothing else next that he's thinking about. That's why I kind of like him.
I think that's a great call. I think Lionel's phenomenal. You look at what he did. He was so close in Oceanside. Right, he was 30. He won that Ironman Florida, even though it was shortened a little bit.
Yeah.
But what's great about Lionel is he's got something else to draw on that other guys don't. Look where he was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Right. He was in the depths of drug addiction.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, he's got this second life.
Yeah.
So he appreciates every second out here. When people think that it's tough out there, they haven't been in jail.
Yeah, in terms of like
that's tough.
The self-talk, the stories you can draw on in a race, which is important when you're digging deep.
Exactly.
He's got a lot of them.
He's got a lot of them. He's a very, very special.
In your
young guy.
experience, he's come onto the scene very quickly, had a lot of success very soon, where people are kind of like taken aback, like, who is this guy? Has anybody else? Does he remind you of anybody else doing something similar?
It's interesting. You think back, and I know he'd been in races before, but someone like a Thomas Hellriegel in 1995 comes to Ironman and puts like 13 minutes on Mark Allen in a race where Mark Allen said, "This is my last Ironman." He won 5. Right, he took a year off in '94. Welchie won for have their first child. Came back in '95. I'm retiring after this race. You figure it's a swan song, wave to the crowd. Well, he's down 13 minutes off the bike.
Yeah, and
in one of the classic races, he had to make up 30 seconds a mile because it's not like Hellriegel died. The guy ran, I think he ran something like 2:57, 2:58. And had a 13-minute lead. That's usually a recipe to win the race.
Yeah.
And Mark Allen caught him at about mile 22 and a half, 23 to win his 6th and final title in a race that he'll tell you he was ready to drop out a number of times because he thought, I've won it 5 times. Do I really need to dig that deep? So Hellriegel, and actually you think about it, Hellriegel gets a little short shifted because he had a 13-minute lead there. The following year, he gets off the bike with Luc Van Lierde, who came out of nowhere again. Guy had never run a marathon before. Luc Van Lierde from Belgium. He has a penalty. So he's got to serve a 3-minute penalty. He's sitting in the box while Hellriegel's out there running sub 250. He ran sub 250. Right? With a 3-minute lead, runs sub 250, and Luc Van Lierde runs 241 to win the freaking race and break the course record, and he'd never run a marathon before. And then, obviously, Chrissy. We're Huddle and I are doing the commentary, and here's a girl with no hat on, no sunglasses, and we're like, "Who is this person?"
She was not on your radar at all.
She had won Ironman Korea. She was more of an Olympic distance gal.
Yeah,
she was getting ready. Brett basically said, "Go do Ironman Korea," but she didn't have the background to do long stuff. She won Ironman Korea, which was, I think, only about 6 weeks before Kona. And came to Kona and just killed everybody.
I just read her book. It was really good.
She's great.
It's funny. I was asking Chris McDonald yesterday.
Yeah.
He was in that Sutton camp at that time in Thailand and Switzerland. And I said, the rest of the world was really surprised. But was anybody within that team surprised? He said no.
No, yeah.
He also said that we never really were able to see what Chrissy could really do on a bike. That she would destroy the guys.
Everybody, yeah.
She would destroy the guys, especially on an uphill.
Yeah.
That strength to weight. She was just a beast on the bike.
Well, Nicola Spirig just chatted with her a little bit a while ago, and she said the same thing. She went during that camp, and I remember Belinda Granger during that race. She's with Samantha McGlone and these other girls after Chrissy had gone by. And she said to the other girls, the race just went that way. And the girls were like, they had no idea who she was. And they said, got that girl. And if you think that she just rides a bike, she's as good a runner.
Yeah.
And then it was like, that was it. It was over.
I wonder if she'll come back.
I don't think so. It's funny because we chatted about it. I thought, especially after Marinda won. So Marinda wins in 2010 when Chrissy's not there. Marinda finishes 3rd the next year, right? Yeah. Then she comes back in 2012, wins again. All right. So now I'm going, Chrissy, 2013, you and Marinda won. The women's race would be the focal point. You've got a woman who retired undefeated, and you've got the 2-time Ironman world champion going head to head. That would be really cool. But Chrissy's one of those meteors that comes along a few times in life who just sort of shows up, makes a name for herself, realizes that winning the Ironman gives her a podium to talk about more important things like triathlon for women, women in sports itself, kids. She's an amazingly diverse woman, and I think Ironman gave her what she needed. And she probably thought, "Hey, are 5 wins going to make that big a difference over 4 wins in terms of the podium,
legacy,
in terms of my legacy, in terms of helping me touch other lives moving forward?" Because she was making $40 a month working up on the top of Nepal, so I don't think she really cares that much about dollars.
Yeah. Speaking of touching other lives, I was always curious about how CAF got started and how you were involved with that. Because it's such a great organization.
Thanks.
Thank you for my button, Bob.
Yo, hey, listen,
I'll wear it on my suit like a president with a flag pin.
As well, you should. So a buddy of ours, a guy named Jim McLaren, was a 300-pound football player at Yale.
Yeah.
1985.
So was I.
You were 300-pound guy.
I wasn't Yale, and I didn't play football, but
Yale was my safety school, by the way. So I went to University of Illinois because I was a lot better academically than Yale.
Yeah, of course.
So 300-pound football player at Yale. In 1985, he's taking acting classes in New York City. and he's on his motorcycle and gets hit by a New York City bus, thrown 90 feet in the air, dead on arrival, lives, decides to become an endurance athlete, reinvents himself, runs a 3:16 marathon.
Wow.
And we're talking prosthetics that are basically prehistoric by today's standards. 3:16 marathon, 10:42 in Kona, right? With a walking prosthetic.
Wow.
It's still the second fastest time for a below knee amputee in history.
Wow.
Yeah, 10:42. So anyways, I met Jimmy then, and I was covering him through Competitor Magazine and had him on the radio show. And then 8 years later, he's racing in Mission Viejo, California, and is on his bike, and a van goes through a closed intersection. Van hits his bike, propels him in a pole. A guy who's already an amputee becomes a quadriplegic.
Yeah.
So at that point, myself and a gentleman named Jeffrey Essica, who worked for the Tinley Company, and Rick Kozlowski, who was an event director in San Diego, the three of us decided we wanted to put on a triathlon for Jimmy, because through Competitor, I had covered a lot of wheelchair athletes. I loved the stories of overcoming. And what I'd learned from interviewing a lot of wheelchair athletes was, the worst part, I'd ask him, what's the worst part about being paralyzed? And then over and over and over, I'd hear, the worst part is all of a sudden, here come mom and dad back in my life. I'm 25, 30 years old, no sense of self, no sense of independence. And I have to call people to come and pick me up and carry me around. So our goal was, we'll put on this little triathlon, we'll raise 25 grand, we'll buy Jimmy a vehicle that he can drive with his hands, and give him some semblance of independence. That was the goal. So we do the event, we raised 49, buying the van. And then 3 amputee gals who had been at the event came up to us and said, Jimmy's our hero, and he got us into endurance sports. And he's the reason that we run and do triathlon and surf and everything else. But did you know your health insurance covers a walking around leg or an everyday chair, but anything to do with sport is considered a luxury item and it's not covered. So that's when we decided, if somebody wants to run a marathon and they need a leg, someone wants coaching to come down here and do Ironman Texas, if someone wants to be a wheelchair tennis player and potentially go to Paralympics, we're going to be there to buy the equipment they need, get them the coaching they need, take care of the travel expenses they need, because sport isn't a luxury item. It's who we are and what we do, and it's important. It's an important asset of what we of everything we have. So that from then we've now raised $64 million, and we just sent out 1,700. Thank you, studio audience. Yes, you're so kind. That's
a tremendous amount of money, though, Bob.
I know. 1,709 grants, totaling 3.5 million is what we've given out in the last month. This is grant month in CAF land. So it's been a great journey, and watching our athletes accomplish what they've accomplished has been pretty special.
You've had some very famous people help you with CAF too, among them Robin Williams. I was touched by what you said about him after his death, and just what a cool thing to have him involved. How helpful was that? How many $1 million can you attribute to?
You know what? And Robin, not just for CAF, but for the sport of triathlon. You talk about a celebrity coming and doing the Malibu triathlon on a relay team, right? Back then, triathlon was this niche little sport. And then when he came to our event, it sort of made sport cool. Right, that here's this guy who's an Academy Award winner doing our sport. And the neat thing was, the team we had was Team Braveheart, with Rudy Garcia Tolson, who at the time was an 8-year-old double above knee amputee, and he did the swim. He's now a 2-time Paralympic gold medalist, 200 IM, 232 for 200 IM. Don't try that at home with no legs. He also is the only double above knee amputee to finish the Ironman. Finished Ironman Arizona in 16:05. When he rides a bike, he has no quads and hamstrings, so it's just glutes.
Yeah.
So when he rides, he basically has to use his arms, a regular bike, and it looks like he's sandpapering the seat because he has to move back and forth, and he can't stand on the bike.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no relaxing.
They show him on NBC.
He's been So Rudy doing the swim, Robin doing the bike ride, 56-mile bike ride, hard bike ride. Scott Tinley, 2-time Ironman champion, doing the 13.1-mile run. They're Team Braveheart. Because at the age of 7, Rudy had a little business card made that said a brave heart is a powerful weapon.
Yeah.
And that became his calling card. And so they were together 11 times. Robin came to our event 11 times. And the funny part was I asked Robin, I said, Robin, what is it about, your relationship with Rudy? Is he, is it because you're an Academy Award winner and you're obviously a famous comedian? He says he doesn't give a crap about that. I'm his video game pimp. That's the only reason Rudy gives me the time of day.
Video game pimp?
He gets all the new games where Robin Williams gets them all first. Call of Duty, all that stuff. He's giving that to Rudy. And then Rudy won this award called the Casey Martin Award, and it's for people who are inspirational to the disabled. And that's put on. Casey Martin is this golfer who had to go to the Supreme Court to get the use of a cart because he had a circulation issue to play professional golf on the PGA Tour. And Casey's a Nike athlete, so they had this award up at Nike, and it comes with a $25,000 grant, and Rudy was getting the award. And Casey Martin comes on stage and goes, the award's named after me. I usually like to give it out, but somebody performed last night in New York and asked if he could fly all night to present the award to Rudy. Robin Williams comes bounding out from backstage, and he goes, they tell me Rudy's a challenged athlete because he's missing both his legs above his knee. Rudy's not a challenged athlete. To me, a challenged athlete's a 300-pound guy trying to squeeze his ass into a pair of bike shorts. That's a 300. That's a challenged athlete. And so Rudy and Robin developed this amazing relationship. And Robin came to our event every year. And what he loved more than anything else, he loved when new reporters would come out there. And that's the thing. All the media came out because Robin Williams was at our event.
Sure.
So you get your weather gal who's doing the morning thing, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, Mr. Williams, can I get a soundbite from you about this race? And he every year he'd go, is this live? Putting a live microphone in front of Robin Williams is like putting a piece of raw meat in front of a lion, right? It's not the smartest thing to do. So she'd go, yes, it's live. He goes, sure. So Mr. Williams, what are you going to feel like at the end of the 56-mile bike ride? What am I going to feel like? I'm going to feel like there's a river of sweat like Niagara Falls running down the crack of my ass. Oh, wait, is this live? And then he'd walk over and high five everybody. He was just the best. He was just really, really a special guy.
Starstruck around somebody like that? You'd have to be.
Just the fact that and what was great about our people in the sport of triathlon is people didn't bombard him coming up and, hey, give me an autograph, get a photo. They come up and shake his hand and thank him for being there.
Yeah.
And he loved being with Scott Tinley, Greg Welch, Steve Hegg, the Olympic gold medalists. Those guys would all ride together with some of the hand cycle athletes. And it was really a special time. And again, it wasn't just for CAF. What he did for the awareness of triathlon, it really can't be overlooked.
I was thinking of you yesterday as I attempted my first day long of interviews. It was like my little marathon of interviews. It was
sort of fun, huh?
My breakfast with Bob.
There you go. Well, we're doing that. We're doing late lunch.
Right.
With Starkey.
Late lunch with Ben.
With Ben, exactly.
But I got to tell you, it was exhausting.
It's a workout, huh?
It is not as easy as it looks.
No, and especially when people show up at different times, or somebody shows up you weren't expecting, and you're like, yeah.
Oh, and then this is our first time doing this, and we had some audio glitches in the beginning of just stressful.
You know what? All exposure for the sport. The more that you do, the more that other guys do to create awareness of the greatest sport in the world is wonderful. It's really cool stuff to see new people who have a different attitude coming into the sport and adopting it and talking about it as something that they need to do.
I was going to ask you about something, as a guy that basically kickstarted publishing in the sport. I mean, You were sort of one of the godfathers of publishing.
I used to use, it was a tablet, like it was stone, and we had little chisels and shit. And then we cut that stuff out.
So this is interesting. I mean, I think about media in general, and if we were talking about national media, or let's say the White House press corps.
Yes.
What you want from your media is somebody that is sort of challenging to authority, challenging to the powers that be, and asking tough questions, and you want your media to be your watchdog. But in a niche sport like triathlon, sometimes it's such a small group that you don't want to alienate, and therefore we end up sometimes in situations where the media outlets
we're cheerleaders,
tend to be cheerleaders, and I don't want to say some people are apologists for some of the things, but how do you do that in a niche sport?
I think it's what's interesting, because a niche sport is, we always say, the smaller the sport, the bigger the politics, right? And the more hats that people wear. So somebody, I'm at a publishing a magazine, I'm doing a radio show, I'm working with, behind the scenes with Ironman on potentially purchasing something like Super Frog Race, because it's so we all wear a lot of hats, and you could look at it and go, God, there's conflicts here, and you don't have a church and state where here's the political reporters covering this. I look at it as a sport. Yeah. It's entertainment, and what we're trying to do is get more people into it, because the more people are into it, they discover the same thing we do, that it changes lives. It's a sport. Look at the small little sport of triathlon is the reason the Challenged Athlete Foundation exists. Yep. And we've helped 10,000 people out and raised $64 million. So did I do covers of Rudy on the cover of Competitor Magazine? Did I do covers of my Muddy Buddy series on the cover of Competitor Magazine? Absolutely. Of course. Unapologetically. I'm trying to grow our industry. And Ironman, I felt when we started Competitor that there was nobody doing, there was running magazines, there was triathlete magazine. Nobody was doing both. Nobody was doing running, triathlon, cycling, mountain biking. Nobody was nimble enough to be there for the beginning of adventure racing and obstacle racing. And I felt that I wanted to be the gateway drug. I wanted to be for brand new people who don't know what they are, right? Ben Hobbs is like, gosh, this endurance thing is sort of cool. I want to lose a few pounds. What do I get into? Well, you pick up my salad bar magazine, and here's adventure racing, here's obstacle racing, here's triathlon, here's running. Choose what you want, but get involved.
Quote? I think you told me the quote, every runner becomes a triathlete.
Orthopedic reality. Orthopedic, and this is, I keep telling people this. I'm like, you guys are just denying the inevitable. Eventually, every runner needs to become a cyclist. Every runner needs to become a triathlete. And when they come to the dark side, what they're going to realize is, I've been running, 70 miles a week, and now all of a sudden I'm running 40 miles a week, and I'm running faster because my engine's getting tuned with swimming and cycling. Look at Gwen Jorgensen. Gwen Jorgensen is running faster now for 5K than she did when she was in college.
Right.
And that's because a lot of her anaerobic work is on the bike. So for all you runners out there, you pure runner guys, all you runner guys who still have hair on your legs and stuff, face the reality. You get on a bike, you're gonna look at Meb gets out on the elliptigo, and Meb, the week after he won Boston in 2014, I was riding Fiesta Island, and Meb was doing a 26-mile ride on his elliptigo.
Yeah,
right. It's got wheels on it. And Meb isn't good on a bicycle, but he's great on elliptigo. You got to do something besides just run as you get older.
Where will we be in 10 years as a sport? Do you feel like when we look back that the sport will have grown, or do you think we'll maintain this sort of flat trajectory? Because you and I talked about this. Yeah, it's really not growing, and you referred
endurance
to
entertainment.
The Lance hangover that we maybe had Lance raced in Kona. This thing could have just.
Well, so I didn't agree with that. No, I didn't think. I wasn't into the Lance thing. My feeling is this: we have a thing called endurance entertainment, and right now, and it used to be triathlon, running, then adventure racing, which came and went, right? Because adventure racing, you basically had to be sleep deprived, you had to be cold, wet, hungry, lost
in the mountains
for 8 days in a foreign country. Who's signing up for that? Riding a camel. So. Endurance entertainment now, running, triathlon, cycling, mountain biking, obstacle, all of that is endurance entertainment. So the guy who might have done 5 triathlons 3 years ago might be doing 3 now and doing a Spartan race and a Grand Fondo ride. So those people don't identify themselves as triathletes the same way people hopefully aren't just identifying themselves as runners. But I think our world is getting bigger and bigger. Think about it. Spartan race didn't exist 10 years ago. They had 1 million people in the U.S. do that last year. That's huge. That's big numbers. There's here, when I see what Ironman's doing, they've got 600 people who are part of that all world athlete program who are racing here.
Yeah,
1,200 out of 1,800 in Kona were part of the all world athlete thing.
So the pie will get bigger.
But triathlon has to do a better job. That's why I mentioned this thing about the runners. You go to the Rock and Roll marathons or Boston marathons. We should have a booth at those marathons with Ironman. It should be a cooperative booth for the sport of triathlon. I was telling Tri Business should be doing this. They're not, but it should be a cooperative booth between Ironman, USAT,
TRS Triathlon.
Exactly. Exactly. The real Starkey could be president and the whole bit, you get some bribes, all that type of stuff.
I love bribes.
Bribes are good. So imagine this booth with a sizzle reel for the sport of triathlon, and basically, hi, you're how old? You're 45. Yeah. The reality is you're not going to run any faster. I hate to tell you this, right? Say, dude, right here, sitting here, you've peaked. It's over, right? It's over. You've run as fast as you will ever run.
How old are you, Zach? Are you 45?
He's like 23, but it's downhill from here. So, but if you get on a bike, you can maintain what you have as a runner, right? Yeah. Rather than being the limping around guy who's going, I used to run a 2:35 marathon, and now I'm running a 4:35 marathon, and I'm hobbling with with the double knee braces, and I'm part of team tendonitis because I've got all this, I'm wearing every brace in the world. And that's talk about flawed type of programs. When you have these training programs to get people into running and triathlon, and the whole idea is to raise X amount of money and get ready for something in 3 months. A lot of times people end up leaving these things with, they raise their money, they go to their one event, and they're gone.
Yeah.
We don't want to be gone. If for our sport and for running to continue to grow, these people need to have success. That's why one of my frustrations with those training programs is don't just run. You're going from 0 miles to 60 miles a week on concrete in the span of 6 months, and they are finishing a marathon with double knee braces on and limping and going, that was great, bucket list done. No, we got to have them in our sport forever, right? Yeah. This is a lifetime sport. Bill Bell just got inducted in USA Triathlon Hall of Fame. He's 92, right? When he spoke at the USA Triathlon Hall of Fame dinner, he said, he's buried everybody in his family. He's 92 years old. And it's because of triathlon. Triathlon is the fountain of youth. It is a sport that keeps you young forever. Hanging out with 50-year-olds when you're 60 is a good thing, rather than hanging out with your peers who are talking about their Medicare, right? That's not good.
As a Hall of Famer, do you have a secret club that you go to as a secret handshake, and you sacrifice animals? What happens with the secret club of Hall of Famers?
So where's it go where a guy goes, hey, you're part of a secret club, tell me about it?
It's like a skull.
Tell me about your secret club.
Tell me about the Skull and Bones.
Tell me about the secret club and your secret initiations into a microphone that's going out to millions. No, millions and millions and millions.
This is my show. No one is listening.
Oh,
you can say whatever you want.
We got two. You like it. So that's great. Being the only fat guy in the Hall of Fame has its perks. As long as Mark Allen and Dave Scott and Tinley continue to stay really fit, I stand out.
Where do you keep your plaque or your trophy?
My trophy, I have it. I wear it around my neck normally, but it's no. But
please continue unbuttoning your shirt, Bob. I was getting very aroused.
If you had a gold medal, right? If you had a gold medal, wouldn't you wear it all the time? I would have a permanent tan mark right here. I'd be wearing that when you wear it at the airport.
100%.
And they'd be like, oh, sir, that ring, what is that? Oh, that's my Olympic gold medal. Sorry. Let me take it off.
You would never
I'd wear it all the time.
About it.
What's happening? That guy's grislier than I am. I like it. That's my twin brother. World's most interesting man.
Stan Babbitt.
Exactly, right there. Except he's fit.
Who's your favorite interview of all time?
Ooh, that is a good one.
That interviewed a lot.
We've interviewed a lot of people. Macca is unparalleled
because
he never holds back.
He does.
He does not hold back. And he will tell you, a lot of times in the early days when I interview someone like Scott Tinley, you don't want to interview guys who are trying to do 12 things at the same time, right? You want, because a lot of times you're on the phone with somebody, and how many times you're on the phone and you're cooking dinner and you're doing something. That's the way Tinley would be during an interview. Really? He's packing, and he'd be like, yeah, great, yeah. Dude, we're doing an interview here. Get out. When you get Macca, you get his undivided attention, and he will tell you. I mean, the interview we did, my favorite interview, and this wasn't even for radio, but we went down to Auburn, Alabama, and Macca always had a problem with the heat in Kona, right? So he's testing out fabric down there because it's an Under Armour school, and he's an Under Armour guy. And so we filmed some stuff with him there as he's talking about Ironman, and that was 2010. So Craig Alexander had won 2 years in a row. And Macca and I are envision this. We're in the stadium. We're in Auburn Stadium, and we're walking across the football field, right? And the cameraman's walking backwards, and I'm saying, so Macca, how do you beat Craig Alexander? He's won 2 years in a row. How do you beat him? And he goes, well, the reality is Craig's the front of the pack swimmer. He's going to be there. Craig is strong enough that he's going to be with us to Kauai High. And if we don't dump him between Kauai High, Hawaii, and Kauai High, he's going to be with us all the way back, and he'll win again because he's the very best runner in the heat in our sport. So the only way we can beat him, and he looks at the camera, and he goes, Timo, Norman, Ferris, the only way we beat this guy is we have to attack him between Kauai High, Hawaii, and Kauai High. If we attack him there, if you guys go with me, if we work together and kill him between, that's his weakness. His weakness is between Kauai High, Hawaii, and Kauai High. And that's the only way we're going to beat him.
He's using the interview to communicate with his competitors,
to his secret guys.
Together.
They had a secret handshake, and they could do that over the radio.
Skull and bones.
So that's exactly the way the race played out. If you go and watch it, it's exactly what happened. They got to Kauai High, and all of them took turns attacking.
It still chapped Crowe.
Oh yeah, well, Crowe. When I saw Crowe, he was upset, saying, you said that I'm not a good cyclist. No. I didn't say. Macca said, and he didn't say you're not a good cyclist. He said if he has a weakness, it's on the bike. And I said, Macca said, what are your weakness? And he goes, well, my number one weakness is buffet. I got to keep my weight down. My problem is I eat too much.
Yeah, Macca's not a small guy.
No, he's not. And
he's an athletic 6'2" type of strong looking guy.
Exactly. That, which is why in 2010, and we did that interview, and then I didn't see him until about a month before. And it was at this race in San Diego. It was an Olympic distance race and Tri Classic. And he was there just as a tune-up. And he was running about a 32-minute 10K and was flying. And I'm like, oh my God, he's ready. And everybody, how quickly people count you as dead, right? Macca had won it in 2007. By 2010, his career was history. Sort of like, Leanda Cave and Pete Jacobs. They won in 2012. They didn't win in 2013 and 14, so their careers are over. It's the way people look. People have very short-term memories.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. That's our job. But Macca looked great, and everybody was counting him out. And I'm like, you know what? I just saw this guy running, and he's ready. And he was great. And it played out exactly the way he wanted to play out. And adding to it was the way he handled the whole Andreas Raylor thing, where he basically just lulled him in and then broke his spirit and broke his dreams.
Yeah.
Which we like, which is what we do. We're about
good
people's
drama.
Dreams getting destroyed.
That's a great drama.
And we go out and we capture that, and then we play it to them over and over and over again, just to relive the worst moments of their existence.
Until they hate you.
Yes.
Play it until they
hate you.
Nobody hates you, Bob, though. You're well beloved across the board.
I owe everybody money. They can't. They can't get away from me because they'll never get their money if they're not nice.
You have been around since the beginning.
Earth was cooling, yes.
And you can see into the future as well. Solve all of triathlon's problems.
I don't see many problems, to be honest. I mean, I see a sport that's I think that the endurance population is bigger than ever. I think we have to do a better job of promoting our sport. I think we have to do a better job of promoting what I love is the pool triathlons, because I think the biggest limitation of people getting into triathlon is the swim. You think about all the things in swim. Cold.
It's intimidating.
Cold, current.
Punch in the face.
Big waves, punch in the face, glare, big gray things. I mean, everything that's negative is in the swim, right? So these pool triathlons that we have in California and are starting to grow, 3-mile run, 10-mile bike ride, finish with 150-yard swim in a pool, all right? So you're warmed up. You jump into the water. There's lane lines. There's walls. There's lifeguards. You can stop. People do it and go, I'm a triathlete. And I was doing the Tinsel Triathlon out in Hemet, California. It's been around 25 years. And the race is the 3-mile, 10-mile, 150-yard swimming pool. After the race, the awards are getting ready to start. There's a guy standing next to me in his board shorts, belly hanging out, and with his bike with the high bar with a koozie on it. And his wife's standing with him. And the announcer goes, hey, everyone, the Ironman TV show is going to be on NBC this afternoon. You should watch that. Now, these people have just done their first triathlon, 3-mile, 10-mile, 150-yard swimming pool. The wife asks the husband with the belly, with the board shorts, with the bike with the high bar, with the koozie, honey, what's the Ironman? He hesitates for 1 second and goes, same thing I just did, a little longer, right? That's the mentality. He's a triathlete. If it was just a swim bike, if it was just a duathlon, or what I call it, one of the worst things ever was changing the name from biathlon to duathlon. Do you want to be a athlete?
Yes,
no,
is my middle name.
Yeah. So people want to be triathletes. It's sexy. It's cool. So let them be triathletes if it's a slip and slide and they get wet. If that event doesn't have if it has just a run bike, there's 300 people there.
Yeah.
Instead, there's 1,200 people there.
Yeah.
And the first year they're there with the bike with the high bar and the koozies. The next year they're there with the P5, right? Because now they can be competitive. Now they can be part of our sport. And for a race director, you're starting with a run. So you need a balloon arch, maybe, right? It's out and back. So really you could do 2 or 3 miles. So you need 1 mile out, 1 mile back. Then it splits up, by the bike, 2 5-mile bike loops. So you need 5 miles of road for the bike, 2 miles of road, 1 mile of road for the run. And then you need a pool. So you don't even need a big finish structure because you're coming out of the water. You serpentine across the pool, start at one end, go to the other.
I'm picturing you starting one of these events.
I'm going to
back into the race director business.
I'm going to be president of what I call the PTA, the Pool Triathlon Association. I've always wanted to be president of the PTA. So this way I can be president of the PTA. And I just think these things, if USA Triathlon, and they keep trying to do all this different stuff, but if they would get behind this, and then you give everybody who's got a bike shop and everybody who sells wetsuits free booth there, and they bring wetsuits out and try to wetsuit in the pool, because you got to get past the fear of the swim. And once we do that, and then people get out there and once they try a triathlon, they're in. They got that number on. We got them for life.
You consider yourself overall an entrepreneur? Because you've been launched publishing companies. You were part of the rock and roll race series.
We owned all that.
You've had some successful exits.
Yes,
but you're also what are you, entrepreneur? Is that you're at the core?
I think I'm more of I guess I'm a creator of stuff. So like when I first came back from Ironman, and there was only 100 of us in the race, I convinced this guy who had a newspaper called the Running News. I'm like, dude, this sport with 100 of us doing this stupid event over in Hawaii is going to be big. Change the name. So, change it to Running and Triathlon News, right? That was sort of the evolution. And then I left teaching and became editor of Running and Triathlon News. And when that closed, I was out of a job, and I didn't know what to do. But I went to meet 2 guys in California who had magazines that were specifically cycling, California Bicyclists and Southwest Cycling. I went to both of them. I said, guys, if we did a magazine that combined running and triathlon and cycling all together, it could be really popular. And both of them told me the same thing that I'll never forget. They said, we'll never put a skinny runner on the cover of our magazine. And I can't blame them. Where's our running guy? He left. And triathlon's a fad, and it'll be gone in 5 years. This is 1987. And so I came back from that meeting pretty depressed, and some of our friends came to myself and my partner, eventual partner, Lois Schwartz, and said,